You're listening to Health Nuts with Dr. Chris Carr. Making lifestyle changes is hard for many people, and not knowing what to do or how to do it makes the task all the more daunting. Here at Health Nuts, we focus on helping you live a fuller life by discussing everyday health issues and exploring breakthrough solutions on how to overcome them. And now, here's your host, Dr. Chris Carr.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Health Nuts. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Carr, and today I'm thrilled to have on Dr. Will Cole. Dr. Will Cole is a leading functional medicine practitioner specializing in clinically investigating underlying factors and customizing health programs for chronic conditions such as thyroid issues, autoimmune diseases, and hormonal dysfunctions. He consults locally in the Pittsburgh area as well as on webcam and phone consultations for people across the country and around the world. Dr. Cole is a health writer for international publications such as Mind, Body, Green, and lectures nationally. Today, we are heading down the road of gut health and inflammation. I can't wait to hear his message. Dr. Cole, welcome, my friend. It's great to have you on. I got to tell you, I've been following your stuff for a while. I started this podcast about a couple months ago, and you're one of the first names that I thought of right away to kind of share the gut health and inflammatory processes that I know you're pretty much an expert at. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Those are really kind words, and I'm excited to talk about this. I am a gut health nerd extraordinaire, so let's dig into it.
So that was a real formal intro of you. Tell us more about yourself. Where are you from?
Originally, I am from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, the metropolis of Westmoreland County. And then our clinic is outside of Pittsburgh in the Monroeville area. But then, like you said, about more than half of our patients are outside of Pennsylvania and other states and countries. But yeah, I'm originally from the, farm country of Western Pennsylvania.
What led you down this road that you've been on?
Yeah, so I grew up in the alternative health world. I kind of was raised that way. So I always have had that bent of seeing what I could do for people. And my dad had a health clinic growing up, and he had people like Dr. McMurray speak at his clinic, which I was impressed by him at a young age, and kind of seeing these sort of pillars in the alternative health world. And then being in school, my doctorate is from Southern California University of Health Sciences. And there's a lot of integrative sort of acupuncture, doctors of Oriental medicine, medical doctors, physical therapists, doctors of chiropractic, all there doing their thing and getting people well. And then I heard of a guy that went to my school. He was older than I was, but he was doing this thing called functional medicine, Karazian, who, he is one of the leading voices in functional medicine, one of the most brilliant minds on the subject. And so he kind of inspired me of kind of boiling it down to functional medicine and applying it in people's lives.
Yeah, and I think it's become much more integrative than it had been in years past, and just the research is so solid on the things that it does, and I'm looking forward to just hearing this topic today on gut health and how inflammation plays a major role in it. Before I get to this body of it and all the info I know you're going to share, I always like to start with an affirmation or quote, something maybe you live by or heard throughout your years.
Yeah, that's a good question. An affirmation. I think one of the affirmations that I live by that centers me more than anything is be still. And there's a lot of problems happen in our lives when we lose focus and lose that stillness. So, I think that says a lot. I think this world needs more stillness.
Yeah, I think everyone is on the go, and as we're going to really touch on gut health and inflammation, we know external stress plays a major role in this. Mm-hmm. And we're firing off sympathetics all day long, and the body's not healing.
Yeah. So
what turned you onto this topic, and kind of talk to us about where we want to start with gut health and what's important to you?
Yeah, well, it's the foundation of health. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, the Hippocratic Oath said, he said thousands of years ago, he said, all disease begins in the gut. And I don't know how he knew that, but now that's why he's the father of modern medicine, I guess. But now research is catching up with antiquity, that the majority of health problems that we see today, at least to some degree, have a microbiome, gastrointestinal component, if not a huge piece of the puzzle there. So it's the foundation of health. And I think it's a good kind of cornerstone conversation to have, no matter what you're going through. A gut component should be ruled out at the very least. It should be at least considered to be a possibility because of its high implications in the medical literature and what we see clinically as well. So so whether someone's going through brain issues or hormonal problems or digestive issues, obviously, metabolic issues, we want to be looking at the gut component if there is one.
I think one of the things you touched on was kind of one of the underlying causes for disease. And you mentioned the word microbiome. I think, obviously, we know what that means, but for the layperson, with us really having two brains in our body, what's a microbiome to them?
Yeah. So the microbiome, if you break that word down, micro is small and biome is life. It's the small life that lives inside your body. It's all the good microbes, all the good bacteria, and to a lesser degree, yeast, fungus issues in your gut. Upwards of 100 trillion bacteria, though some studies say less, but it's a lot of bacteria. And if you go off with the higher level of that 100 trillion bacteria, there are only 10 trillion human cells on your body. So you are, in effect, 10 times more bacteria than human, sort of sophisticated, microbiome host for them to live in. And they determine a lot of things in our body. So the balance of the microbiome, research is now confirming its implications to not only digestive issues like IBS, constipation, diarrhea, but also far-reaching implications and its influence on the brain and neurological function, myelin sheath production and neurotransmitter function, and hormonal function. So this is the influence of, and you mentioned the second brain. Well, 95% of your serotonin, your happy neurotransmitter, is made in your gut, stored in your gut. And I know that I'm weird, but I think the intestines kind of look physically resembling the brain. And they are actually formed from the same fetal tissue. When babies are growing in their mommy's womb, they're growing from the same fetal tissue, and they're inextricably linked for the rest of your life through this gut-brain axis or gut-brain communication line. So, when someone gets nervous about speaking in front of people and they have to run to the bathroom, that's the gut-brain axis. And now anxiety and depression and brain fog and all these issues that we're talking about have this gut component, this microbiome component. So that's why it's so important.
It's huge. And I think one of the things which I'm assuming you're going to get into is you're going to touch on some dietary issues. But most people, we think that the gut affects the brain. But one of the things I've always said is that, to make it more common to them is that we give them 2 shots of Jack Daniels. It's going to mess up how they feel. And I think a lot of times with foods, what types of foods are causing some inflammatory processes? And with the diet, what would you say about that? And I know it's one of the things with elimination diet as well. If you could go into that stuff.
Yeah. So your food instruction microbiome. Your food is like information for the microbiome, and the foods that you're eating or not eating, just like your stress levels or lack of it, or exposure to toxins, all of these epigenetic factors, these are environmental, lifestyle, you make choices in life factors. These factors, these epigenetic factors, are constantly and dynamically instructing your genes, but also instructing the genes of your microbiome and their expression. So foods are very much well linked in the medical literature to instructing the balance of the microbiome and intestinal lining permeability, which can trigger things like leaky gut syndrome. So you're not so much, you are what you eat, but you are what your microbiome eats. And it's these microbes that get the food that you eat and make things like short-chain fatty acids, which are basically end products to this bacterial fermentation, and they make the immune system thrive or not thrive. They fight cancer. They instruct your weight. Actual weight loss resistance, or people have difficulty losing weight, are shown to have imbalance of these short-chain fatty acids and imbalances of the microbes that make them. It's important.
So somebody who's, one of the symptoms which I always like to share is, after they eat and they eat some food, maybe their nose starts to run. That can be a hallmark sign that they might be having some leaky gut issues. What are some things you could share? Because I think leaky gut it's a hot topic, but I don't think a lot of folks know exactly how that plays into their overall gut health.
Yeah. So it's an unfortunate name, isn't it? Leaky gut. It's kind of gross, but the official clinical term is intestinal hyperpermeability. Basically, things are passing through your gut lining into your bloodstream that you don't want going into there. So the research is kind of looking at specifically undigested food proteins and bacterial endotoxins called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. So basically, things are passing through your gut that shouldn't be able to, but because of increased permeability, things are passing through and leaking through, so to speak. What does that do? If your immune system sees undigested foods or bacterial toxins in your bloodstream, it puts on an alert system and starts tagging it with antibodies, and it causes this inflammatory cascade in your body. And inflammation is that one commonality between almost every health problem that we see today. So it's oftentimes these underlying gut problems that cause systemic issues. And I think that's a big message for your listeners, is that you do not have to have gut symptoms to have gut problems. Many people are going to the bathroom okay. They don't really kind of consider it part of their health problems, but they're having underlying microbiome dysfunctions causing and contributing to brain issues or hormonal problems or inflammatory problems at large. So leaky gut syndrome is one of those factors that should be ruled out because it's linked to so many different common health problems. You at least should rule it out. I mean, it's something that, why not? You won't know if it's an issue for you or not if you don't look there.
How would they go about doing that?
A hallmark test for that in functional medicine at this point is measuring antibodies to those lipopolysaccharides and the proteins that govern gut lining permeability called occludin and zonulin. So these are like the gut gatekeepers. Zonulin, you can think of it as like a zipper, and occludin is the occluder, the closer. So we're looking at measured elevated antibodies against the proteins that govern gut lining permeability and those bacterial toxins. It's a blood test. Again, we do this test for people around the world. We just would drop ship the lab to wherever they're at, and we would get the results in a couple weeks. So that's the hallmark test. There are other tests that you can look at as well. We also run like stool tests, microbiome tests, and they measure secretory IgA, basically looking at gut lining that way, but it's still not the direct leaky gut test, which is the measuring the antibodies against the gut lining proteins.
And one of the things that's happening is, one of the things you led on to is that, so you have the food that's passing through the barrier, and then pretty much it's making the person toxic, and they become toxic over time. What eventually happens if it goes untreated? What are some things that happen long term? I know you're talking about brain fog as a symptom. What else could you say to that?
Well, that inflammatory cascade, when you have elevated inflammation, which inflammation is another obscure term that people kind of know it's not good. Right. They kind of have this some connotation that this isn't right. But what is inflammation? Inflammation is a part of your immune system. It's not inherently bad. We would all be dead without inflammation. Healthy inflammation levels, balanced inflammation levels. So inflammation is subject, just like the microbiome and hormones and everything else, to this sort of Goldilocks principle that not too high, not too low, but just right. And inflammation in check fights viruses and fights bacteria and fights infections and heals wounds. It's a good thing. It's this hyperinflammation, this sort of forest fire that goes on in perpetuity. That's a problem. This is excess chronic systemic inflammation. That's an issue. So those inflammatory issues can manifest in different ways for different people. So brain fog, anxiety, and depression in the brain, those are all linked to cytokine activity, pro-inflammatory activity. Inflammation in the imbalance in the immune system can trigger autoimmune conditions, things like Hashimoto's disease or autoimmune thyroid problems, where the immune system's attacking the thyroid, or attacks the joints and rheumatoid arthritis, or attacks the gut and Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. I mean, there's a lot of different things on this autoimmune inflammation spectrum. And that's why leaky gut's so important to rule out.
Yeah, those three diseases alone, what you just mentioned, affects millions of people, specifically in the U.S. And that alone, if you can trace it back to the gut, I mean, it's just going to be unbelievable the amount of difference it's going to make in somebody's life. So now they test positive, or they're having the symptoms, they get tested, they have this taking place. What do they do?
Well, healing your gut. And here's the thing with this, is that there are upstream and downstream components to this, meaning that, yes, we're talking about their gut, but we don't want to be so myopic and so one size, like this is everyone's problem, because you can have an upstream problem like the gut and gut issues. And then downstream, you're causing other inflammatory problems or hormonal imbalances. You kind of have to be comprehensive with this and integrative and not be so focused on one thing. While it is a cornerstone issue, and it's probably the bigger piece of the puzzle for most people, you want to look at everything, and we're all different, and we're all going through different problems. Mm-hmm. So it's important to know what's right for your body and what's not right for your body. But generally speaking, healing the gut, since we're talking about that, takes time. It takes, anecdotally, about 18 to 24 months for most people to really sustainably and securely heal and be maintaining that healing. That's not to say that patients have to wait that long to feel better, but my expectation for most people with gut issues is that every month, sometimes every 2 months, we could say we're markedly better than the month prior. If something's a 10 out of 10, it's at least a 9 out of 10 in 2 months. And we're building on that healing, this sort of healing journey that we're with people, wherever they're at, via Skype typically, to deal with these underlying issues. So it takes time. And how you do that is finding out what the underlying gut problem is. And that's different for different people. So we do the proper labs to see what's right for them.
And being a healthcare practitioner, I know a lot of patients, they want everything fixed yesterday. And they're kind of brought up and they're trained to, hey, take this to treat that. And then it can put a big piece of black tape over that symptom. And it can be a real struggle for some people to kind of see the course and see that long period of time. And I could not agree with you more. I loved what you shared, is that it took a long time. They lifestyled their way into this condition, and they didn't just lifestyle their way into it over the past 6 months, 9 months, but it's been years in the making in most cases, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's people that, while we all have that impatience, especially in our society where we want things here and now, and like you said yesterday, but I think most people get to the point where they may struggle with that impatience. But if you kind of bring context to how long this took to be where it's at today, it's not going to heal overnight. And anyone that's telling you that is lying to you, or they're misinformed. It's going to take time. But that's not to say that you cannot see successes in healing gains or decreased frequency and intensity of your symptoms over the course of this journey. But that's part of, what functional medicine is really all about. Is, yes, we have to deal with the physiological, lab aspects of this and healing these underlying issues. But it's also coming up with a sustainable solution for somebody to deal with it, and also supporting them emotionally and just practically along the way. Because these aren't quick fixes. You kind of have to be in it for the long haul to really see the sustainable results that you're looking for. I mean, we're coaching our patients, most of them, close to a year on average, 9 to 12 months. And again, they're not even there, and they're not even at their goal after 9 to 12 months. They're light years better than they once were. They're like night and day. But I know, clinically speaking, they can feel fantastic, but they're going to have to continue this journey on their own. And over the course of the year, we really drive that into them in a positive way, that this is just the beginning. This is really a life change that you're going to have to adopt. Once you find out what your body loves, you need to keep doing it. And once you find out what your body hates, you need to not ever do that again.
Stay away.
Yeah.
When I was reading some of your articles on Mind Body Green, and just love some of the content. One of the things which I would love to kind of for you to talk about, somebody has these gut issues with the elimination diet. What would you have them maybe start with nutritionally if they wanted to eliminate something, say if they didn't get any of the testing done?
Yeah, good question. So what works for one person may not work for the next person. So we definitely realize biological variability, and that's why functional medicine really customizes it to the individual. So labs, a comprehensive health history as well. You don't underestimate a comprehensive health history. And then what actually works in someone's life and what doesn't work for someone's life. So this elimination diet approach is still in functional medicine considered the gold standard as far as uncovering these food intolerances. While there's fantastic labs out there, Cyrex lab is one of the leading labs in their field. They're great information for somebody who's already cleaned up their life, already eats clean, but still has these health issues. Then a labs can be a good place. But a good sub-diagnostic, non-lab standpoint is an elimination diet approach. I have a video class on it if people want to know. There's many ways to do elimination diet. But if you want to talk about the core issues, the core foods you want to remove, sometimes they call them, the core four, but it would be gluten, the G word. It's like a swear word in functional medicine. And why is that? People are like, well, why is he saying that? Because I always do that, and that's super annoying because I want to get my Olive Garden breadsticks. So but the issue is that it's been crossbred and hybridized and changed, and it's a pro-inflammatory issue for a lot of people. Is it a problem for everybody? No, some people are not symptomatic from gluten. But is it a health food for anybody? Heck no. So it's just, some people tolerate better than others. Some people can eat it every day and live a long, healthy life. But some people don't have the genetic tolerance, or they're stressed with so many other things that the body is flaring up over these foods, like gluten, which is the protein found in wheat and rye and oat and barley and spelt. So there's some people that tolerate wheat better in Europe, which is less hybridized, and the whole idea of that this is not so much a gluten issue, but a Roundup issue, where it's like the pesticides and herbicides and the sprays that they use on the grain, not the grain itself, which there's some aspect of that that's true. But I have patients that still respond negatively to the European wheat, the einkorn, these sort of other more primal grains. So wheat, and then dairy, mainly in the form of milk. But excess dairy in general is not good. Right. And I would say sugar, processed foods, which is kind of a no-brainer. People shouldn't be eating those either. And I would say number 4 from an inflammatory standpoint, it would be bad fats. It would be like pro-oxidative stress fats, which are polyunsaturated fats like canola oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil, high omega-6 fats, which drive inflammation. So, and typically rancid at room temperature. So those are kind of I'd say the top ones.
Core.
Core 4 ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, you just pretty much, ruin about 80% of our audience's day with that's the standard American diet right there. Yeah. So the fried foods, the baked goods, all the oils that you buy. A lot of times, even if you're buying organic potato chips, they have canola or vegetable oil in there as their staple. It's not going to be a coconut oil or a healthy fat oil that they're made with. Yeah. So cannot agree with you more. Getting to, that was just a ton of info right there. One of the things I love to share with the audience is I always like to talk about health nuggets, and maybe 3 health nuggets you pass on to most of your patients or the majority of your patients, things that they can take away with them. What are things you would give out?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Just thinking off the cuff, some good health nuggets is number 1, don't underestimate the impact that stress has on your health. Because I think a lot of times in our field, in the health field, we can be so focused on the physical. And while that's certainly a big factor, you can be eating kale chips and kombucha all day long, but if you're shoving your mouth full of stress every day, feeding on stress, that's gonna be counterproductive to what you're doing. And I have patients, and most of my patients eat clean when they meet me because they know they've Googled stuff. They've been to Dr. Google like every day. Right. But they come to me when they're like, despite their best efforts, they're still going through their health problems. So we need to dig a little bit deeper and find out physiologically what's not being addressed on labs. But then secondarily, look at these non-food factors, which is like really integrating these spaces of silence, these sort of brain breaks that people need to give themselves, because that drives down inflammation, that drives down cytokine activity and C-reactive protein and homocysteine, all of these inflammatory proteins that aren't good in excess. So manage stress, or be mindful of stress. That's the number 1 health nugget, I would say. And number 2, it would be just because something's common doesn't make it normal. A lot of times people settle for, I'm tired, I have brain fog, and they look at everyone around them and they're feeling just as lousy as they are, or even easier, to find someone sicker than them. and then say, well, that's normal. I'm just getting older, or I'm just depressed, or I just need to lose weight. And it's just sort of settling for this bleak life. These chronic problems that we're talking about today are in most cases reversible, preventable, manageable, improvable things. You don't have to settle for feeling lousy. So just because something's common doesn't make it normal, number two. And then number three, here's number three. If you're going through symptoms despite normal labs, either they're not running the right labs, or they're not interpreting the labs appropriately, or both. So this thing that, you're just, this is all in your head and you're just depressed, you just need to lose weight, or you're just, making it up. So many people are told by their doctor, they're just, these issues, there's nothing wrong with them. See you in 6 months, take this antidepressant.
Go see a psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. And people go to the psychologist and they take this med, and then they go to this specialist and that specialist, and they have a pile of labs by the time they meet me. And they're just deflated and heartbroken. Yeah. And they're told that over and over again that, there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing wrong with them. And they're just, whatever, just this, take this pill for this, and see you later. So those are 3 health nuggets that are transformative in my clinic, that when they start seeing the truth to those 3 things, they can start to heal their life.
Yeah, I loved it, especially the first one, the emotional stress. We can gauge a physical stress like a car accident or sitting in a computer for 40-hour plus weeks. But if you have family disharmony, financial issues, spousal issues, you can't really gauge what that's doing internally to your body. And I love that first nugget you shared. So I always like this section. I always like to go back to the future, and you're able to, go back to talk to Dr. Will, 15 years ago, before you got into school, or even maybe while you were in school. What's something you would tell your younger self?
15 years ago. Okay. 15 years ago, I would have been, I don't want to give my age because people already think I look too young. So they shouldn't judge me for my boyish good looks.
The boy band good looks.
I have been called the Justin Bieber of functional medicine. That's not a compliment, but,
no.
But I would say trust God. I would say this. It's like so many things we let ourselves worry about things and be anxious for things, but like everything's going to work out all right. And telling myself what I would tell myself is that you think, well, if this happens, then you can relax. Or when this happened, it's always some future event that you need to wait to happen to then find peace. Yeah, that's never going to happen. Things get more complicated as you get older. So that's what I would tell anybody that's listening where they're at now. If they haven't learned that, is that if you're waiting for the right time, it's now. If you're waiting for the right time to have peace, it's now. If you're waiting for the right time to get healthy, it's now. Because waiting for the right time is never going to happen.
Never. That is, I might even write that one down and start applying that.
I have that sign in my office in the waiting room. When people walk in, it's like, I got it at Target, but Target spoke the truth at that time, because that's a message that we all need to hear.
It is. So I'm going to throw a quick couple of questions at you. Best advice you ever got, what was it, or is it?
Best advice I've ever got. Give out of your need. Because the world says opposite, basically if you need something and this is your right, but giving out of your need, giving when you don't feel like it, that's where transformation happens.
Love it. What makes you a health nut?
Feeling great.
Patients come into you and they're having X, Y, and Z stuff going on, and they're saying, hey, share with me something what is a resource you turn your patients onto, or something they can get their hands on?
Well, I don't want to be self-plugging, but we have a lot of great content on our website at drwillcole.com. I put my heart and soul into this, and my team does here too, to really provide great free content for people. We have ebooks and recipes and video courses, a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, and that was a good segue kind of into patients want to find you. How do they get hold of you?
drwillcole.com. It's drwillcole.com. And if you're in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 724-772-9833. For everybody else, just go to the website and you can fill out the free health evaluation. We offer free health evaluations via webcam or phone, just to get a functional medicine perspective on their specific case.
And also share, you've got a huge Facebook following as well. So if you have not found this guy yet, look him on Facebook, like his stuff, because it's something that I look at as well. So
thanks so much.
Yeah, I love it. I love the message that you shared, and I hope the audience did as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Maybe you'll come back again sometime.
Anytime. And we're both Pittsburghers, so this should be like mandatory.
It should be. You know, when I was doing all the looking and trying to hunt everyone down, it's amazing how many local docs I've got in this local area that are just killing it.
Yeah.
And you're one of them, so I'm glad to have you on, and looking forward to doing it again sometime.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. We'll talk to you again down the road.
So, you've heard from the experts yourself this episode and have gotten some golden nuggets on health. There is so much more to come and so much more to learn. Head on over to pghcw.com. Again, that's pghcw.com, and sign up for our newsletter where you'll receive free info on how to get and stay healthy. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Health Nuts with Dr. Chris Carr. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and please leave a review.